dance floor is a space to ideally be free. That's what it should be.
Dancefloors mean to me good times, fun, music.
I started to listen to electronic music through like pirate radio stations. I remember hearing The Prodigy for the first time on the radio and going to get the cassette from the library, and just was like, as soon as I heard that sound, I was like so just completely drawn into it. I'd been raised on classical music up to that point, and I still love classical music, but it pulled me in and just like did something to me.
A massive obsessive listener of music. And it was hip hop when I was growing up, but then I kind of found dance floors really.
Some people come for passion or for dancing or to take drugs or to find love or to express themselves.
I've always found it to be a very safe and welcoming space. I'm obviously quite overweight, and so it's like, but I've always felt welcomed, like when I'm throwing shapes very badly and uncoordinatedly. I don't look good when I'm doing it, obviously, but no one has ever come up and judged me for that. And if I have been like in a corner, sort of not doing anything, like people have actually come over and asked me to dance with them.
I was actually a really shy and retiring kind of person, but then I kind of discovered through Dancefloors actually that it's like the throwing yourself into the abyss and finding there's a feather bed at the bottom. I actually found out that when you do cross over that invisible boundary and let yourself go on a dance floor, that there is literally no judgment, and it is a place that you can have total freedom of expression.
It's like the music's controlling you when you're dancing, and you're not dancing to look like you're having fun, you're dancing because you're feeling how the music is. It's like a tribal feeling of, look at this loud noise we can make together because we're so safe in this environment.
And I saw like a programme on television about a family of new age travellers who like were just like going to different raves around the country, and I remember watching that and seeing a girl of about my age dancing, and like there's like some tunes that I remember to this day, and I was like so transfixed by this whole thing, and just like, oh. And eventually, maybe like when I was 15 or something, 15, 16, I went to my first like big festival, and then I found a boyfriend at 17 who lived in North Wales who was into the whole free party thing, and that's when I got like really pulled into that scene and actually experienced real free parties in the hills, like miles from anywhere. And it was the first time in my whole life I'd ever felt so part of something and so connected and sort of part of something magical that was a little bit out on the outside of the day-to-day drudgery of life.
When I am dancing and when I'm on a dance floor, I feel free, I feel liberated, I feel like I've escaped the sort of the clutches of just the regular norms of society, and I just feel a big release.
You just have experiences which you would never have, at work or something like that. No one, it's very much, you'll make friends with strangers. I mean, it's so rare that, even if in a city with people all around us, we ever talk to strangers, but you will literally have a conversation with strangers the whole night and sometimes take them back to your house, and it's like nothing you've experienced before.
I just remember how incredible it felt looking around and seeing, there were farmers there dancing, there were families with children, there are so many different kinds of people, and everyone was just dancing and smiling and being so nice to each other, and I was like, this is just not something I felt in day-to-day life up to this point at all.
It's just somewhere where everyone gets together in a kind of communal release, just going absolutely wild, getting any tensions out of you.
This kind of place that I can go to work through my problems, maybe.
When I go out dancing afterwards, I do have clarity of thoughts, and I do I really see it as very, very therapeutic on both a physical level and on a mental level, because you've got this sort of confliction where you're really, really into something and you're really, really loving it, but at the same time it's taking you away from just the things that you think about in regular life.
I think it's just not something that you would experience in the day-to-day life. this kind of communicative, friendly, empathic, joyous thing, really.
I think those spaces are really important, not just for me, but I feel like in wider society. So like for so many people who come to this space and be inspired, be, you know, challenged, they meet new people, and I just feel that that's why they're important to me. I've been on Dancefloors on my own, which is really liberating because you're just focused on the music and there's nothing around you.
And then there's obviously the coming together with friends or strange and random people that you meet on the night out and experience those moments.
One of the comments that you sometimes get is, you know, if you like the music that much, then why do you need drugs?
Music and drugs are trying to potentially do the same thing, you know, to take you somewhere else, to move you, to make you feel other things. When they are interconnected, it's like can be a marriage made in heaven, I guess. And they work well together, and there's like a synergy between the two of them.
Drugs can change the way that music sounds and the way that you receive things.
There's a heightened perception of the music, so it takes the what probably is already great music just to that slightly different level.
And I suppose it's just to kind of remove some of the social constraints, which is part of the release, that you know, we have to kind of carry around with us all the time, and whether it's alcohol or drugs, that is a big part of what's going on. And also to kind of improve your sensory kind of perception of the music as well. That is certainly a big part of a lot of the drugs that people take. It really makes them feel like they're part of the music, especially when they're, you know, in the zone on the dance floor.
I've met a lot of people that I'm friends with now because of my use of drugs. Everyone's been sort of loved up, and so they become a lot more sociable. No one's aggressive, which is something you get with alcohol.
That's been the one drug that has really had the most negative impact on my life, because it's so accessible, it's legal, it's so accepted.
Yeah, it definitely is, especially when people will talk openly about how smashed they got and then laugh about vomiting the next day. And it's the only drug you have to apologise for not using. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not drinking. What? Ridiculous. You wouldn't have to apologise for not having any other drug.
Where's my bear?
People say, oh, marijuana's the gateway drug. Alcohol's the gateway drug. Alcohol has been responsible for nearly every shit decision I've ever made in my life.
I've never ever seen anyone on MDMA start a fight. They've always been like really loving. I mean, you know, sometimes you're worried you're going to be hugged to death, but that's about as far as it goes.
I don't do drugs, I don't drink. The simple act of going out with my friends and listening to music that I really like and dancing, it's something that I've just realised that I love that process, and it gives me an incredible amount of energy, but please don't get me wrong, I've got no problem with people taking them or the culture surrounding them. Selfishly, I really enjoy it when I see people that are doing what they want to do, and if people want to drink, or if people want to be sober, or if people want to take drugs, then that's absolutely fine.
Getting into drugs and being high is a stupid thing to do. So being in control and saying no is not the easiest thing to do. Being original and take a stand to a free to say no. Don't let a friend push you in to taking drugs. You got it right. To say no, right to say no.
If someone is using drugs, it's very hard for them to speak out because of the wider taboo around it. If you stop taking drugs, then you can start talking about it and no one has any problem at all. But if you are like, you know, any age and actually currently taking acid, people just, they do like drop back from that.
I buy this tea for my husband. He likes tea. He also likes this one. I don't like tea. I like gin.
At one point, my mum said to me there was an advert for a festival or something, and she said, "Oh, you don't use those awful drugs at festivals, do you?" I said yes, and she was so disappointed. My mum will have a gin and tonic every night and think that I have a problem with drugs.
I'm comfortable about talking about drugs with most people, you know, friends, some work colleagues, probably the ones that do drugs, and then family, like my mum, for example. I guess I feel relaxed talking to her because she's a child of the 60s and definitely did lots of drugs in the 60s, and so I think she has that understanding about why people do drugs, and I guess almost in a way she's interested to find out how drugs have changed from the 60s to now and how we've moved from psychedelics to MDMA and cocaine.
My dad knows about my drug use. He also knows that I know enough about what I'm doing to stay safe.
I think my parents kind of know that I do that. I say things on Facebook. Like, even when I was young, I came home from things sometimes clearly looking a bit wonky, and I think they know. They do know, maybe not the extent. And I know that particularly my dad, I'm sure he thinks I'm a bit irresponsible. He doesn't quite get it. I think he imagines if you take a drug, everything just goes like, take acid, it's just all like crazy tie-dye everywhere and everything you think is just total nonsense. I don't think he understands that there's some profound experiences to be had when you like alter your consciousness with a substance. But, you know, I chip away. One day he'll take it. I want him to take mushrooms. We'll see if that happens.
My wider family circle, they know, you know, I'm not 100% sure that we've ever had the conversation full on, but they know what I do, and like I'm really lucky because I know that so many people struggle with that.
Probably half an office, you know, in a typical firm in London, it takes drugs, but no one does that. No one knows who it is. So yeah, it's just very much a normal thing, you know.
I guess you can't be 100% open about what you've really been doing. You know, someone can come into work and just be like, yeah, like, you know, went to the park and had a few beers. I can't really come into the work and be like, yeah, you know, like went to the park and took some acid and like things happened, like because it's not seen as socially acceptable. So I kind of have to hide that aspect of my life.
The only incident I did have was two of the kids that I worked with at a youth club coming into a nightclub I was in and going like, "Hi John," and I'm like, "Hi," and I was a sweaty gurney mess, and they were like, "You're on drugs," and I was like, "You're 15. You shouldn't be in here."
I've had a few people be judgmental. I mean, we all have that, don't we? Usually from people who used to enjoy it themselves and have had to stop because they've got a mortgage or something. They see me still doing it and they're like, she needs to grow up.
The way in which I use, talking about illegal drugs, obviously, I mean, it's evolved over time, partly because I'm older, partly because I've got a child, and partly because I don't have opportunity or space to be able to do those things in a responsible and safe manner, and so it's massively limited. I still love the festival environment, that temporary autonomous zone where all social rules are thrown out the window, and I, you know, at least once a year I will go to a rave and I'll go back to being a 20-year-old dancing barefoot in the grass until the sun comes up again. So it's always going to have a place within my life situated somewhere. But what I've also noticed is it's the illegality factor again. I'll be much more likely to have a drink these days because that's the socially sanctioned drug. That's the drug that we're all allowed to have, even though it's incredibly dangerous.
Protect yourself with censorship.
I don't feel it's taboo to talk about stuff, but in a larger context, yeah, or as a policy, I wouldn't admit to it or make it a really overt characteristic.
Me and my identity isn't around drugs or dance floors, you know, I'm me.
I don't think there's a massive difference between myself when I'm out clubbing and then kind of back in kind of like normal everyday life, really.
I am the person I am today, partially because of the experience I've had. They are not an overt part of my personality. They aren't in my top 10 kind of definable characteristics, but I would say that they've changed my identity. They've definitely enabled a different me to emerge, a positive me, a me that I like, a me that has an awful lot of characteristics that I'm very proud of.
I don't see how drugs change, you know, my identity. It's just a little bit, a tiny part of me, like a very small part, like almost an inconsequential part, really a no big deal part.
You know, like I'm good at my job and I do what I can elsewhere, but people judge me on my use of drugs rather than my whole character, so I become a drug user rather than a person.
I would say that I'm a person who sort of has fitted in to the line in life, but feel like there's lots of aspects of my life that some people would describe as childish or that I should have let go of, which I cling to dearly because I feel they're really important.
In everyday life, there's responsibilities, and I do for the most time, I do enjoy those responsibilities. I enjoy working hard and looking after myself and being a responsible adult and doing wholesome things that really make me feel good. But at the same time, I want to be able to go somewhere where I don't even feel them. So I know the clutches of society can often be seen as a negative thing, but even the positive clutches of society, it's good to be able to escape from them as well. You know, even if you're really, really enjoying life, it's really a great thing to be able to enter into a space where it's just alternative and where it's not regular and it doesn't follow the same rules.
I think I'm a much healthier person, weirdly, because I've done drugs. I think I'd be a lot less in touch with myself if I hadn't. But like, I know that's something like a lot of people would find difficult to believe. They've helped me get in touch with like aspects of my personality that were probably a little bit buried, and they've helped me see things from different perspectives. They've helped me realise like that life is incredibly complex, but also not to be taken too seriously at times, and that it's a lot simpler than we sometimes make it.
I'm an intelligent, functioning doctor. I'm contributing and caring about wider society. I'm very hardworking. I'm good at what I do. Drugs have not affected me, but kind of enabled me to be a happier person, a more confident person, more caring. So why wouldn't society want that?
It always seems to be that whatever happens, it's reported on in a very, very negative light. I mean, you see hundreds of thousands of people dying from smoking every year. You see lots of people drinking too much and dying either through like liver cirrhosis and long-term damage or getting too drunk. And it's never vilified that they were so drunk that this is what's happened and it's led to accidental death. But as soon as somebody dies of a club-related drug, it makes headline news.
26-year-old man has died after taking the drug ketamine at the Glastonbury Festival.
More than 800 are arrested in Acid House party raid.
Police moved in to break up the party at 5 this morning.
We were telling you about gigantic outdoor raves happening across the region almost every weekend. Sometimes they ended in confrontations with the police.
Officers have been recovering today after being injured while trying to stop an illegal rave party in the forest Forest of Dean.
A 16-year-old boy has died after a suspected drugs overdose at a Halloween rave in North Wales.
People have been arrested after riot police were called to a suspected illegal rave in central London.
16 people have been arrested by police in Lincolnshire after an illegal rave near Bourne. 12 officers and a police dog were injured.
Unless we die or like we stop taking drugs, then it's very hard for us to be included in the debate, and many people don't want to include us in the debate purely because of the fact that we are currently like using drugs.
I wish in a professional capacity I could talk more about drugs without fear that it would cut my work potential and chances, that I would be seen differently. I think that the stereotypes and the negativity that surrounds drug use is really silencing some very meaningful, important messages that I think wider society, especially in these kind of crap times, could really do with listening to.
I'm really a champion of a more responsible discussion and like intelligent, mature discussion around the whole subject.
We want to give people a platform and a chance to talk about their experiences of drug use, and also how dance floors are, important spaces for people. The way that I kind of see people in dance floors working is that it does give a platform for people that do want to speak about this stuff.
But how do you get rid of these barriers? These barriers you're talking about, it's a really difficult thing.
I don't actually really take much drugs myself, but I'm also interested in the positive and negative effects of drugs, but also the bizarre negative effects of the criminalization of drugs. Not just for users here, but I've also lived in Central America and seen the negative effects on societies there, where you are actually kind of producing drugs. So, I'm interested in many different sides of the bizarre effects of the criminalization of drugs.
I'm a doctor, so prescribed drugs. I'm very interested in this project, which is particularly because I think part of it is to explore the positive effects of drugs, not just the negative effects of drugs, and I think there's a whole spectrum of effects if you were to take drugs. So that's what I'm here to talk about.
It's part of the aim of the film, really, because we have to try and challenge that stigma.